Okay, here we are. This is the Roaring Brook. Maybe I'm sounding like I'm shouting, but I've also got a stream coming in over here, so there's a lot of water sounds. But this is part of our regular loop that we do. And I'm thinking about when I used to board dogs, I would always want to take them for these walks, which meant that they had to be good off leash, meaning that they would come back when I called them and they wouldn't take off and go walkabout for hours at a time. So that was something I always worked on with the dogs, and the things that I would think about or that I noticed with them was that for some of them, when they didn't have a lot of off-leash experience, this was like kid in a candy store, and they were just so excited and running around, and so that's a consideration when you're trying to work with a dog and start taking them off leash, is how frequently do they have this opportunity and this experience, because if they don't have it a lot, there's going to be lots of factors involved in it. One is that they may not have a lot of positive reinforcement for staying with their owners. They've just been on a leash, and that sort of kept them in the vicinity of their owner. And so I have to make sure that I have lots of good food, and in some cases I may actually even keep them on a long line to start with. This is a nice flat cotton long line that my friend Deb gave me, which I use all the time. I also have a lighter one, a thinner one that I just picked up a line at the dollar store because it's thin, and I use it for the smaller dogs because it's nice and light. And so what happened when I got Yogi in the fall, he had not done a lot of leash walking. He didn't have a lot of experience being able to go running off leash. So what I started him with was I kept him on the long line, and every time he hit the end of the line, I'd call him back to me, and then I'd feed him, so that we'd start to sort of get this yo-yo. And if you think about it, if you've ever played the look at that game with a dog, where they see something and then they learn to turn around and get their food, this is kind of like that, only it's you feel that, you feel the end of the line. When you hit the end of the line, go back to the lady, and she's going to give you some food, which, for some dogs it can take a while for them because they're still sort of, excited about being outside, and so sometimes I just start off trying to trot along with them and let them sort of, get some, keep the line loose, but give them the opportunity to run around. So anyway, I did that with Yogi, as I've done it with the other dogs as well, and we would do this sort of back and forth, and then sometimes, rather than him doing it from, maybe hitting the end of the line 20 feet away, he might hit the line 5 feet away, so that we're getting all these different distances of turn around and go back to the lady, turn around and go back to the lady. And eventually then I started adding a cue to it, and would call him and pay him every time I call him. Anytime I talk to them and ask for their attention and they give it to me, especially in an environment where there's lots of other stuff competing for my attention, competing for their attention, I want them to pay attention to me. So I pay for it. I feed them lots of really good food. Although with Finn, when I had my Border Collie Finn, I carried a Frisbee. And anytime he came back to me, I'd throw him the Frisbee, which he really seemed to like. So that's what I was doing. And eventually I could take the leash off, and I would sort of let him drag it a little bit, and then eventually started giving him this time off leash. And what I found was that he would come back to me a lot for payment. And sometimes it was like, hey, enough already. Oops. Sonny just tipped over the camera. So sometimes I decided, okay, I really like this behavior, but, and I'll thank you every time, and I'll tell you you're a good boy, but if you just walk 2 feet away from me and turn around and come back to me, I'm not going to give you any chicken for that one. I think it's a great behavior, but look, we're not going to get anywhere if you do this. So I started to begin to sort of ask for more behavior, that the further, anytime he came from me from out of sight or from further away, I would pay him. Okay, so fast forward, you know, it's great. He's coming back. It's easy enough. Then we get to the spring. It's springtime now, and this is his first spring with us. And there's lots that's going on out here in the woods in the spring. And so suddenly this dog was like going off. And he wasn't coming back to me as much. And so there's not only a distance thing involved for me, there's also a time thing. Like, you know, you can be away for a couple of minutes, but I don't want you out of my sight for 20 minutes. And then I thought, oh no, like, what am I gonna do? He's not coming back to me as much. What should I do? And well, of course, what I needed to do was I needed to go back to paying him. Come here, Yogi, getting to show everybody what we do. So we had to go back to paying him more frequently. So I had to increase the reinforcement that he was getting with me, where I had kind of gotten a little bit thin in the winter time when he couldn't go very far. But now, boy, there's lots of stuff. And so now he's coming back to me, and, you know, we're doing it again. And today he hasn't taken off because I just increased the rate of reinforcement with me. So anyhow, that's just, now this is where we live. And so this is a skill that I need these dogs to have. Now, if you live in a place where dogs need to walk on leash, well, that's just another skill that you give them. You know, you teach them to walk at a different speed, and you do it the very same way. You make that speed, that pace, be more reinforcing. So you pay for that speed, pay for walking slow. Because, I mean, I always figured it's not easy to walk at somebody else's pace. It's hard for me sometimes to walk at somebody's pace, especially, well, whether it's slower or faster. So that's just the other thing, is if you need a dog to stay at your pace, reinforce them for walking at that pace. And there's also pieces of equipment that will make it easier, and the equipment isn't designed to hurt them for walking faster, that we can use. So that's just the thought of, like, walking out, you know, walking dogs, because it's nice for them to be able to get out. And I also wanted to show you, I found this snake skin. Hey, Sonny, come here. Sonny, come here, buddy. Come here. Come here. Sonny, check it out. You see it? Come up here. What do you think? Oh. Gonna eat it? Check it out, buddy. He likes to chase snakes. He's caught a few. We don't have, I guess we have rattlesnakes here, but they're not a problem. So we hardly ever see them. So I don't like him to kill snakes, but he has found some in the garden and caught them. But this is the skin, and he's pretty interested in that. All right, enough said. How about you, Yogi? You interested? How about you, Nibbles? Where's Nibs? Nibbles, come up here. Come here, buddy. Nibbles, come up here, come on. Come up here. How about you? You want to see it? Yogi's interested. Oh, what do you think, Yogi? Yogi's not so, Nibbles isn't so interested. There you go, Sonny. Oh. All right. Catch you later. On our way.